I wanted to get J.D. Vance on this program because I had never met him. I've never spoken to him. And it took us a while, and I had to get deeply involved in it because I don't quite think that the Trump campaign understands the reach of the no spin news. We gave you the stats last night. I reach far more people now than I ever reached with the O'Reilly Factor on a Fox News channel. And we have those stats posted now on the website, BillOReilly.com. Millions and millions and millions of people. YouTube, Spotify, on and on and on and on. And we ran them down. And we're going to run them down again tonight. It's crazy what's happening. But Donald Trump himself is an American who consumes news the way he's always had, network and cable. He doesn't go into the social media realm, even though he runs a social media company. This is where the action is. This is where the eyeballs are, as they say. And I'm so happy. It took me 7 years to do this, to create this empire, but it's worth it because I reach now far more people, as I said, than I did on cable television. And a lot of those people are not Republicans or Democrats or conservative or liberal. They're kind of float. All right. And so we're going to tell you about J.D. Vance this evening. Interesting guy, interesting cat, as Dennis Miller would say. So Mr. Vance, tough upbringing, wrote a book about it, Hillbilly Elegy, huge bestseller, made into a movie by Ron Howard, big movie, and that's how he got famous. And before that, he went to Ohio State. He went to Yale Law School, so the guy's obviously smart. He's in the military, primarily in a journalistic capacity overseas. He's got quite the resume. And then 2022, he was elected with the help of Donald Trump as a senator from Ohio. And straight talking guy. I was surprised when Trump picked him as VP. I was. I thought he would go for somebody else that, you know, a woman that would give him a little bit more of an edge because he needs women voters. But after talking with Senator Vance, and you'll see it, I understand a bit more why Vance was selected. Okay. So he's 40 years old. He's married. He's got 3 kids, minors, you know, he's raising the kids. And he was in Omaha, Nebraska this morning where we caught up with him. Go. So I appreciate you taking the time out there in Nebraska. We're talking to you early in the morning, but you look good. All right. I'm a mess, but you look good, Senator. But thank you for taking the time. This is a policy interview, but before I get to that, 6 months ago, your life was fairly organized as far as the Senator of the United States is concerned. Now, it's 180 degrees different. Since you got the nod for VP, give me 2 things that have surprised you about the whole process.
Well, the first thing that I have to point to, Bill, is having a Secret Service detail is just a wildly different thing. I think for my kids in particular, Bill, we have a 7-year-old boy, a 4-year-old boy, and a 2-year-old girl. They can't just like walk out the front door and go to their friends' houses anymore. It's just a slightly different world, right? So I think that has been the biggest just adjustment for the family. I think the really big positive surprise is just you see the country in a totally different light as a VP nominee. And what I mean is, you know, I've run for Senate before, did it 2 years ago. You drive around the state of Ohio, which is, of course, my favorite state, in the back of a used Subaru. You know, now I'm flying around in a plane going to every corner of the country. And you just, you know, whenever we're on the ground, I try to drop into some place that's local, a chocolate shop, an ice cream shop, a deli, just to sort of talk to people and see what it's like on the ground. And it's just a totally different way of looking at our country. It makes you realize, Bill, we have the most beautiful country in the world. And I always try to remind, you know, my fellow conservatives, my fellow Republicans, there is a lot for us to be grateful for and a lot for us to be hopeful about. The problem with this country, it's not our workers, it's not our natural resources, our incredible beauty. The problem is leadership. And that's why we're doing what we do.
All right, so let's get into the policy stuff. So one of the big issues, as everybody knows, is the open border, which has caused an amazing amount of pain for the United States of America. And we're talking about drugs. We're talking about fiscal issues, cities going bankrupt, chaos, crime, on and on and on. So Donald Trump, I think you subscribe to this from my research, wants to deport a massive amount of people, millions of people. So my analysis says that's almost impossible. How could a Trump administration deport millions of people?
Well, Bill, before we get to that, I think it is important to set this up and say you have to stop the bleeding, first of all, right? That's the most important thing. And the thing where I think most Americans actually have near uniform agreement on is we've got 25 million illegal aliens in this country right now. Let's not add to it, right? Let's actually re-implement deportations, re-implement President Trump's Remain in Mexico policy, stop this process of catch and release, where for your viewers who don't fully appreciate this, what this really means is that you come into the country, you're asked by your government to come back maybe 10 years down the road, maybe 5 years down the road, but it's effectively a blanket amnesty policy for anybody who says that they're persecuted, even if they're just a traditional economic migrant. That is one of the biggest reasons why we have this wide open border.
True.
So stop all that stuff, right? That's first.
Okay.
So you're right. Okay. So once you stop all that stuff, now you've got 20 million, 25 million people. You have to figure out what to do with them. And I guess the way that I think about it, Bill, is, it's kind of like being asked, well, you have a sandwich and it's 10 times the size of your mouth. How do you actually eat the whole thing? And you take it one bite at a time, right? And I think you start with the million most violent, most criminal, illegal alien elements. There's probably, of the 20 million, there's probably 1 million who've committed some violent crime. That's an estimate, but I think it's pretty close to the truth. You deport them first and you focus on them first. And then I think you go down the list from there.
Are you going to have a special federal task force set up to track down violent migrants?
Well, I think you start with the people, again, who have committed crimes, right? So they're going to be in some local database. Obviously, not every violent criminal is easy to track down, but a lot of them are because they're in the eyes of some local law enforcement.
What if they're in prison, though? Would you take them out and send them out, or they serve their full sentence and then you kick them out? What do you do?
I think it depends, but my attitude would be send them back to their home country, let their home country imprison them. Because one of the biggest problems with our local budgets, Bill, and the problems caused by illegal aliens is, it costs a lot of money to jail illegal aliens.
Sure.
It costs a lot of money to school their children. And it costs, of course, a lot of money to provide medical care. So I think get them back to their country of origin, especially if we're talking about that violent, hardened criminal element. And then I think, look, you are right, Bill, that there are going to be some people where it's very hard to find them. But I think that there are a lot of people where it will be easy to find, and you have to be willing to deport these people if you're going to have a real border policy.
Okay.
I mean, let me
but
just
you're going
give
to
you
have to go through. You're going to have to go through the federal court system to do it, because the ACLU is going to file lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit. But that's okay. I mean, I want to just get your vision about what to do. So then you have, I put the number at about 15 undocumented migrants who are law-abiding people. And have you and Donald Trump talked about a process for those people? Are you going to make them register? What are you going to do to find out what their circumstance is?
Well, I think one other just additional thought here, and it's responsive to that question too, Bill, is we can actually do a very good job of deporting illegal immigrants if we just make it harder for them to work in this country in the first place.
You'd have to get Congress to pass a law that punishes employers who hire illegal aliens. It's not going to be easy to do that, particularly if the Democrats control one house on Capitol Hill. All right, so
Bill, it's not going to be easy. I agree with you. It's not going to be easy to do, but I think it's important to do, Bill, because if you if you really want to have a battle with the Democrats over who respects and represents American workers, you've got one party that's trying to make it harder to hire illegal labor and undercut American wages. You've got another party that's fighting that effort. I think that's a fight.
Did you ever think about why the Democrats want the open border? Because they clearly do. The Democratic Party clearly wants an open border. They do not want any standards of who enters the country and who doesn't. Have you thought about why they want that?
I have, Bill, and I don't think you have to think that hard because the Democrats are very open about this. I mean, if you look at Chuck Schumer's floor speeches or go back a few years, what Joe Biden was saying on the floor of the United States Senate, they explicitly want to grant large numbers of illegal immigrants the right to vote. And they think that they're going to vote for Democrats, and they think that's going to permanently make Republicans a minority in their own country. I think this is a very real driver of what you're seeing at the southern border.
That they want to load up the demographics and change the state like California's changed in Arizona and New Mexico. You work hard to support yourself and your family, but it may seem like you never take that next financial step forward. If the bills are higher than what you bring in, a credit card might be what's making up the difference for you. The problem is the debt keeps on growing. Well, if you own a home, my friends at American Financing can help you break that cycle. American Financing saves people like you an average of $854 a month. Even better, it costs nothing to find out how much you can save. And if you call American Financing today, you might be able to delay 2 mortgage payments. So start your journey towards being credit card debt-free. Please call 888-462-9557, 888-462-9557, or visit AmericanFinancing.net. There's an organization called usafacts.org. You may have heard of it. It's been in business in 2017. It's fact-based. We've watched them for years, okay? And what they do is they go on television, they buy time, spend money, tens of millions, okay? And they report facts. Roll the tape.
Now, I'm going to admit to being confused. Unauthorized immigrant assessments have been flat for a number of years at 11 million people, while the number of people coming into the country has increased. But our government needs to dig in and get all the required numbers to understand that. Since many of the unauthorized immigrants are seeking asylum, let's start by looking at the asylum system. Looking at asylum cases in 2022, about 500,000 people applied. While waiting for a court hearing, these migrants can get work permits from the federal government after their asylum application has been in process for 180 days. Here's the problem, though. This means many unauthorized immigrants have court cases years in the future. At the end of 2023, there was a backlog of 2.5 million immigration court cases.
No, all those stats are true. We checked them. Joining us now from Seattle, Washington, is the guy who runs his operation, USA Facts, Steve Ballmer. You may know him. Used to run Microsoft, owns the LA Clippers, and we're pleased to have him on. So obviously your goal is to try to get information to the American people. Do you think you're getting through?
I think there are people with whom we are getting through. We have 250,000 newsletter readers. We know we're getting millions of people visiting our site over the course of the last 5-6 years. Very proud of that. With that said, is the overall theme in the country grounded in numbers? No. We're going to work on that. We're going to do our part for that. But there's so much more work to do.
All right. When you see in your organization USA Facts, and we want everybody to go there and check it out for themselves. When you see Trump, Biden, Harris say an untruth, I'll give you an example. So Biden said, when I took over as president, the inflation rate was 9%. And the truth was it was 1.5%. Do you take that on? Because if you do, then the Biden people are going to label you a partisan. And if you do it to Trump, they're going to label you a liberal. You see what I mean?
Yeah, no, I do. And we don't put ourselves in the explicit position of fact checking and reporting on the facts. We do report the facts. We leave it to others to hold people to account. My experience is there's 2 ways to construe things that are not helpful. Of course, it's not okay to take a number that's incorrect and put it out there. But the second way, and a little bit more insidious, is for people to pick numbers to talk about, give them no context, and then let people think they are much larger than they might be or much smaller than they might be if you look at it in the context of history or a broader perspective, if you will.
Okay, so you're going to provide not only the facts, but the context, which you did in your commercial about undocumented migrants by saying, look, the backlog is now 2.5 million people. You can't adjudicate that within 5 years. You couldn't. It's impossible. but the Biden administration would never tell you that, so I'm telling you that. When you do this, you are setting yourself up against the corporate media, which now traffics in propaganda all day, every day. And I don't know how much you know about me, but we've been doing that campaign now for years. And we call them on it all the time. And they do it constantly. And because there are so many more liberal outlets on television and conservative outlets, because conservatives do it too, all right, that there's this wave of propaganda coming out. And Americans who don't pay close attention, they're overwhelmed by it, in my opinion. They're overwhelmed by it. Do you see it that way?
I do. I think that we have reduced things to sound bites. People will just grab a single number. I don't think that's at all helpful in the grand scheme of things. But whether it's folks like you or many others, including individual citizens, here are the numbers. We're not going to give any forecasts, any of that. We're just going to report what did happen. How can that possibly be partisan? And then hopefully ground the discussion and debate in those numbers. And if you want to use them to fact check, great. If somebody else wants to use them to make their case about what should happen, great. If a citizen wants to say, you know, I'm not being spoken to honestly, so to speak, great. Then they vote on that basis.
Okay. You must have a tremendous research staff to make sure you get it right. Right? You mean be paying these guys some money to ferret out all this BS, because it's not easy to do that, as you know.
Well, we only use government data. So we start with over 70 government databases to do our work. Now, you could say, is the government data accurate? I say we have professional people in our statistical agencies. We choose to trust them. Occasionally, government numbers don't match other government numbers. We see that particularly when numbers get rolled up from state governments. And then we have to, sort of pick which set of numbers to represent.
And so that's difficult.
Data, it is, and we footnote it. We let people know what we've done. We have no interest in hiding the football, so to speak. And so our core data is government data. Okay. Then on top of that, we synthesize, we fact check ourselves. In fact, we're also looking at automated ways to double fact check ourselves.
AI.
Some of the new
AI
tech.
Wow.
We're not going to totally trust it, but we're going to use
let me play devil's advocate here, because in the crime area, the federal stats coming out of Quantico, Virginia with the FBI have fallen apart. You can't trust them anymore because the cities are not required to report. So the FBI isn't getting a full picture because most of the crime in this country is generated in the cities, in urban areas. And a lot of cities are going, we're not sending you data, so you can't report crime stats. Meanwhile, both parties, both Trump and Kamala, are running wild with, no, crime went down, crime is up, crime is it, and there's no stats to back it. That might be a good segment for you to explain why there's no stats to back it.
There are. Let me challenge a little bit.
Sure.
Most cities do report, which is great. Are there common definitions across cities?
No.
Of crimes?
No.
On that, I agree with you. What is a violent crime can look different across jurisdictions. I agree with you.
That's exactly what's happening in the nation's largest city, New York, where the violent crime is pleaded down to misdemeanors in the majority of cases. You punch somebody in the face, Rick Moranis, the actor, and thousands of others, and the thug is charged with disorderly conduct, which doesn't even make it into the FBI database. So anyway, I just want to bring it to your attention. I know I'm too emotional about this. Final question.
Go ahead. there are imperfections. I'm not disagreeing.
This is the
All
biggest
we
one, though.
is to attribute. Oh, I can give you one. I can give you ones that I think missing data. I can give you, the fact that we can't totally match up what the states report and what the Census Bureau reports and what the Bureau of Economic Analysis reports on state spending. There are definitely things that don't hook up perfectly or are imperfect.
Yeah, I know, but
that come from the states.
I'm willing to overlook.
Should the feds have more tools?
Right.
Should the feds have more tools? I don't know. Our next step, Bill, is to actually go get the crime data from the local jurisdictions and try to normalize it.
Wow.
It's a step beyond for us right now.
Right.
But
that's going to be hard.
It will be. I'm not going to deny
Chicago, New York, and LA are not going to want to give you those stats. You're going to have to break in the middle of the night and get them, or the AI people. Final question. You're a very successful American, obviously. Microsoft, and you got the Clippers, and you're very wealthy. And this country, I assume, has done right by you. You're a patriot. You love the country. You understand the opportunity it affords almost everybody. I am so furious about the collapse of the media, the corruption in the corporate media. I can't tell you how furious I am. But I don't think everybody else sees it the way I do, because I've invested my life into this profession. And I've watched it go down to a degree now where my operation, the most successful independent news operation in the world, we have millions of people depending on me to get them information they cannot get from the corporate media, NBC, ABC, CBS, Fox, whatever it may be. They can't get the information because they're all ideologically driven. Drives me nuts. Do you feel my pain?
It drives me nuts too. I would say depth journalism with numbers and context. I just think in today's world, people don't have the time, or not given the time and resources to dig in and do things
they can't
what I might call
right.
the right way. Now, in a way, I don't fault anybody, because that's the requirements of the business, but that's the opportunity we see. It's an opportunity, obviously, that you see, is to try to do things with accuracy and depth that is important, that people might not otherwise get to.
Yeah, you have to have it, because we're not going to have a democracy. And that's true, not the propaganda stuff. All right, the website we want everyone to go all over the world, because we are all over the world now, is USA Facts. It's a .org, right? USAFacts.org?
.org.
Okay, that's easy. Check out Steve's operation. He's not trying to sell anything to you. You make a determination on whether it's worthy or not. Really appreciate your time, Steve. You're welcome. Got anything new? You got anything you want to get out there? You let us know, okay?
Will do. Appreciate the time, and good luck to you.
Right. Everything is expensive these days, you know that. The government is printing trillions of dollars, and consumer prices higher than ever. If the government continues its printing and spending, the dollar could continue its free fall and lose its coveted role as the world reserve currency. Let's hope that doesn't happen. But there are a few things you can do right now. American Hartford Gold can show you how to protect your money, your retirement, your hard-earned savings against inflation by helping you diversify a portion of your portfolio into physical gold and silver. Start with a short phone call, and they can have physical gold and silver delivered right to your door, or put inside your 401k or IRA. So please call or text them right now. Tell them Bill O'Reilly sent you. Call 877-444-GOLD, 877-444-GOLD, or text GOLD to 65532. Again, that's 877-444-GOLD, or text GOLD to 65532. Have you ever been buried in debt, piles of overdue bills, threatening phone calls, and it just won't stop? Done with debt is your way out. They have developed aggressive new strategies to end your debt permanently. Done with Debt tirelessly negotiates with your creditors to lower or even forgive what you owe. And they do it all without bankruptcy or new loans. Done with Debt has unique strategies to get you out of debt faster. But you need to hurry because some debt solutions are time sensitive. Visit donewithdebt.com and talk with one of their debt relief strategists for free. You have nothing to lose except your debt. Go to donewithdebt.com, donewithdebt.com. All right, California has lost $2 billion in income taxes from people leaving the state. This is the largest state in the union. Total chaos from Eureka to San Diego. Okay? This state, and this is Kamala Harris's model to govern the country. So, the California Legislative Analyst Office, LAO, okay, released its findings 2.5 weeks ago. $2 billion drove out of state. And more to come. Because 2 reasons. High taxes / home costs and woke. You can't live in that state if you're not woke. They'll punish you if you're not woke. People out of there. 5 people have been charged in the death of Matthew Perry, the Friends actor. Okay, you remember this? He died last October 28th, right? So he died from an overdose of narcotics, ketamine, all right? He's a drug addict. Perry is a longtime drug addict. He's taken a lot of ketamine, and one of his household staff has been charged with injecting him with the drug. But the big headline of this story is a woman named Jasveen Sangha, 41 years old, who's known around LA as the ketamine queen and supplies narcotics to movie stars, high-profile people. She's been arrested. Now, it's a federal beef because it's crossing state lines and a whole bunch of others. This isn't local. If it were local, nobody would have been charged. LA authorities, California authorities never would have charged anybody. But the feds have, okay? And the prosecutor's a guy named Martin Estrada. He's the guy who covered for Hunter Biden, interestingly enough. But because this doesn't have any political context, Estrada went after this guy. All right, so it's a federal case, and the ketamine queen is expected to flip and name all these Hollywood people and doctors who are trafficking in ketamine. Once again, Matthew Perry, a very talented individual, but a drug addict. And that's what he was. And it ruined his life and killed him. While he was alive, he was ruined, and then he's dead. And I mean, he's 54 years old when he died. And I just can't get this across. There's nothing good in this industry. Nothing. And you know what the excuse was from the ketamine queen? Oh, I don't force anybody to buy ketamine. Okay, lady, I hope they give you 25 years. I hope you're found guilty. Border. So you may know Byron York. You've seen him on Fox News. He writes for the Washington Examiner newspaper. He breaks a story about Gianfranco Torres Navarro, one of the worst criminals in Peru. They say he's responsible for 23 murders. So he's running away from Peru, and guess where he goes? He goes to the southern border and walks across the border. And the U.S. Border Patrol apprehends him and lets him go, according to Byron York, and it's true. Lets him go. And Peru has got warrants out all over the place. So they finally caught up with Torres Navarro after Peru went wild and said, what do you mean you let him go? And now he's been arrested on immigration charges, and he's being held in New York, Endicott, New York. But this just goes to show you, the most notorious criminal in the country of Peru, walks across the border and the U.S. authorities let him go. Biden administration, Kamala Harris administration. All right, there are new stats out on the border from U.S. Customs and Border Protection. 12.5 million people have crossed in, according to them, and there's been much more, but because they can't calibrate the ones that just sneak in and nobody gets it. 12.5 million in 3.5 years under Biden-Harris. Wiping out every record by far. And then the media reports, well, we had the lowest number in July because it's 120. That's why. You die in that desert in July, the Sonora Desert. And the Biden administration finally cracked down a little bit. Oh, it makes me so mad. All right, Smart Life. So this is the best time to become a BillO'Reilly.com premium and concierge member. Why? Because this election is going to go up and down and in and out, and there are very few media people going to tell you the truth, as I did today and every day. So, premium and concierge membership, BillO'Reilly.com, is a must to protect yourself, your family, whatever. Okay. In addition, if you sign up, you get a free book, any book you want, but Confronting the Presidents is out September 10th. You're going to want that book, all right, because it's got Trump in it, got Biden in it, got all this stuff in it, okay? If you're a concierge member, you get a free signed book. I'll sign it for you. Then you get access to watch the No Spin News on a whole variety of places. Amazon Fire, Apple, Roku, all big. You have a lot of different places to watch it, all right? Then you get a message board option where you can interact with other, no obscenities, no hate, none of that, just back and forth, good dialogue. You'll make a lot of friends on our message boards. Then you get transcripts on anything you want on our shows. So you'll have if you're debating your friends, and you'll have that. It's on and on and on and on. And then when Christmas rolls around, we're giving you huge discounts on our political memorabilia, on our books, everything. So I'm saying to myself, if you're ever going to do it, BillO'Reilly.com premium and concierge membership is do it now. Smart life. Thank you for watching the No Spin News. To watch the full episode anytime on BillO'Reilly.com, please sign up to become a premium or concierge member. Visit BillO'Reilly.com to sign up and start watching today.